That was a pretty good intro, as it is every single week. Welcome to PitchIT Series Central Mafia Users Group. I'm here with Sean Lardo. How you doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic, Adam. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. So every week we get to talk about PitchIT. And Sean, what is PitchIT?
That's a great question. I'm surprised you even asked that question. PitchIT. It is a Shark Tank-like competition for startup vendors in the MSP space. Main primary missions are two things: to be able to support the MSPs, obviously, and then also to be able to integrate within the ConnectWise ecosystem and technologies. It is a competition. Right now, we take on between 20 and 26 vendors actually each year, new ones that come in each year, basically go through a 16-week accelerated incubator program. And at the end of that, they all compete to become one of 3 finalists. The goal behind that is they want to be the finalists to be able to pitch live on stage at IT Nation Connect Global in November, to present in front of hundreds of people, prospects and other vendors actually, that actually love to watch them do it. And they are competing for first prize, although all 3 positions do win nowadays. I'll get into that later because I like to talk about that in front of people that won previously. So I'll wait on that. But yeah.
Oh, this is good. This will be great. So so this week we're going to have 2 contestants that actually previously won. Gene from Traceless and Cam from AlertOps. And these are some good guys. They won on the big stage. Tacoma wins, had their giant checks, and I think even I saw a picture of them inside the intro.
Yeah, Gene's image is on he's on there, yes. Also, but I would say this probably will be a good conversation piece around this is to make sure we acknowledge Gene won the year before I took over the competition, and Cam was the winner of my first year running the competition. So you can actually talk about the differentials between the two and how it was conducted and stuff like that. You know, we'll talk about we've constantly been evolving this program. It's gotten better and better each year as far as content, the coaches, the money, everything. So I think it'd be good to hear from Gene on his experience and talk to Cam about his experience.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. It's been 5 years, Sean. It seems like it's flown by. Like I've had a child since then, since we started. I was in California, now I'm in Colorado, and it's like everybody's loving this thing. So it's pretty awesome. Keeps us connected, keeps us grounded, and always evolving. So with that evolution, I want to bring on Gene, because you know what? The man is still wearing the same color jumpsuit from day one. How you doing, Gene?
Great, comfortable. I mean, I actually sleep in this too, so it's actually hasn't come off. It's almost getting in the way of a marriage, but what are you gonna do?
Well, it happens. It's in the way of his marriage. I'm sure it was great before the hoodie.
Yeah. So just give us a little bit. What is Traceless?
Great. So Traceless is a cybersecurity platform for business communications. We started in the MSP space. It was born out of some cybersecurity vulnerabilities I realized I had in my own MSP. That was about 7 years ago. And since then, we've moved to more of a holistic communications platform and protecting basically things outside of email, right? So ticketing workflows, Slack and Teams, phone calls. We protect sensitive information in transit, and also provide ways for people to verify who they're speaking with in communication.
So actually, I think this is something that we noticed within the competition. And actually, I learned this from you originally when I first met you. You told me about what you did. Why did you create the product legitimately? You told me a specific story as to you were like, holy hell.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like a general conclusion, right? Which I think some people can associate with, but particularly I was in an advisory council that eventually became, it was like a think tank around cybersecurity that Arnie had put on. And that eventually became the partner cybersecurity advisory council that sits off of the normal partner advisory council. Adam, is that still a thing for ConnectOS?
The advisory council? Yes. Yeah.
But the cyber one, is that still happening?
I don't believe that it is. I don't. There's been a
we have similar type things.
Yeah,
but it's
it's shifted.
Great. Yeah, it evolves, right? So we were in a group talking about, what is an MSSP? What are we doing to sell services? How are we protecting our clients? And then we also talked about, hey, being an MSP is not like it used to be in the way of the attack vector and in the threat landscape. And I think, prior to this, as an MSP, you're like, okay, I've got backups, I'm patching my stuff, I'm good, like I'm invincible. And then you had like some very serious supply chain attacks. And as an MSP owner, you really realize that like people were doing as much work as you were doing, and they were not being negligent, and they'd come to work and their entire fleet of, was totally locked up. Just imagine that, spending 15, 20 years of your life being like building a business and supporting people, and then having all of that gone. So that's kind of the stakes these days. And this is the transition point. And I was worried about who's calling my help desk, and I was worried about getting people passwords. And I kind of felt that these were, well, I thought that they were normal problems, and couldn't find a commercial product in either side. We didn't really consider like encrypted email like a viable way to move sensitive info, and we still don't. That's kind of part of our paradigms. But besides encrypted email, nothing really existed. So I was like, okay, I'm going to build this for my own MSP, and from there, Traceless was born.
Nice. Well, Keith is obviously here all the time, so at least he's not Traceless.
So stupid. God,
he shows up all the time, just like Gene shows up all the time. And you wear that outfit all the time. It's awesome, Gene. I'm gonna put you in the green room. We're gonna bring Cam back on. Right. So nice seeing you. We'll bring you back on here in a bit. Good transition, right, Sean? Thank you.
Yeah, great. Good job. Good job.
Cam, how you doing?
Doing good. Glad to be here, guys.
Yes, awesome. So
I just want to comment on the closet. I'm just like,
just waiting for the great.
Just go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead.
Give us a quick intro. What is AlertOps? What does AlertOps do?
Yeah, for sure. So AlertOps is an alert management incident orchestration tool. Founded as kind of like a standalone entity in 2019. Initially, we were kind of commissioned by Sears to build an alerting tool for their NOC, right? And over the years, we went from there into realizing there's a natural fit with MSPs in terms of dispatching and ensuring that SLAs aren't missed. So on-call notifications and escalations. And over the last 3 to 5 years, we've kind of escalated beyond that to true incident orchestration, not just dispatching and notifying teams, but also from correlation, machine learning, AI postmortems, and continuous improvement perspective.
Nice. Awesome. Cam, you were a winner 3 years ago?
No, the first year I ran it, Cam won.
4, 5.
This before 4 years. This is the 5th year. So
yeah,
depending on how you want to gauge it. and I tell everybody the same story. Cam wasn't the original person to start working with the AlertOps with us. It was somebody else. I'm not going to mention any names. Rhymes with Mellow, but I'm not going to mention names. And all of a sudden, Cam gets brought in, and he's like, and he was honest about things. He's like, hey, he said, because I always offer, hey, if you guys don't want to talk, I'm talk whenever you want. We sit down and talk and get some advice, or we got to work on some things. And he's like, he scheduled time, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. You talk about a channel program. What does that even mean? He's like, can you explain that to me? And I get like, it was like one time only conversation. That's all it took for Cam to pick up on it. And then Cam became a stud.
Yeah.
Maybe you already were a stud. You became a stud here. But now it seems you've downgraded to your new office.
Yeah, he's in the IT room. Look, he's got wires over there. That prize money needs to be a little bigger, Sean.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the taxes he had to pay on everything.
Yeah, Adam, shut your face. You're not being very supportive.
Awesome. Cam, that's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Gene, if Gene's ready. There he is.
Yeah, Cam, no offense. You look like you're in a basement. Do you need help? Like, blink your eye once if you need us to. Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, seriously, what happened, Cam? You made somebody angry. You're like in a put in the janitor closet.
They got tired of listening to me. They put me in the closet.
That's fine. I know the feeling, Cam. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I want to zoom back many years ago, and I kind of want to know what each of you decided, what really made you decide to enter PitchIT. You know, you've already running a company at that particular time, and you know, I'm just curious the why. So Cam, if you could start first.
Yeah, so at that point, and still now, right, I was kind of heading up like solution engineering and product, right? So my primary focus was all right, how do we make this thing better, and then go to market strategy in terms of pricing. And we had a consultant at the time that said, hey, you guys realize that you have like hundreds of MSPs as customers, right? And like, yeah, have you ever decided to explore that a little bit further? And so that's kind of how this all came about, right? And to be quite honest, we didn't realize, right, there's a subset of the market that's just purely MSPs as we know it today. From our standpoint, we were looking at just functionality, not businesses, right, and what businesses we kind of catered to. And as we went through PitchIT, and as I talked to Sean and learned a lot more, like, wow, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. And so I was really just happenstance that we entered PitchIT, but very, very grateful that we did.
Yeah, awesome. Gene, what about you?
Yeah, so we I don't, man, it's tough. Like, I think I may have found out. Yeah, it's like brain cells just keep getting killed here. So I'm not sure I remember exactly, but you know, I think it's probably Time Zest. I think won the year before us.
Yeah,
and it was probably Jameson who influenced just information and awareness of the program itself. I think what was interesting about the early days PitchIT, it was kind of like a very unstructured mechanism where people would come and like I didn't even know about PitchIT, and I'd been coming to IT Nation for maybe 5 years before then, right? So it was like,
I didn't know about either, and I've been coming to IT Nation for 15 years.
Right. So it was kind of like, hey, there's this contest, you can win money, and of course, as a startup that's mostly bootstrapped, you know, that's sounded like a good idea. And the transition from the year before was kind of like anyone who got accepted just shows up and does their pitch. It's basically like, are you coming? Have a PDF, right, or have a PowerPoint, and then I don't know how the voting worked or whatever, and it's like, here's a check. Thanks for coming. You're now a pitcher winner. Right. And then I think the year we were a part of, ConnectWise, had kind of settled after the Continuum merger and some other stuff. And this was like a area that they were putting a little bit more focus on from probably like corporate development, you know, perspective is my guess, and saying, oh no, this is an accelerator and we want to make sure that everybody who shows up, you know, has a refined pitch and represents the community properly. And then Sean, you took over the year after, and it became a much more impactful part of the community, right? And I think it's true to your strengths as a member of our community, is just being loud and bringing awareness to something that literally was here, right? That had so much more potential, right, for startups and for the community at large.
Absolutely. I think, well, yeah, so like Cam got to be the first year of me running it. And a lot of the things I adjusted were based off what you told me your experience was, Gene. So I appreciate that, and you were my my pin cushion, so to speak. It was like everything was
a doll.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
I put all the pain through him.
Yeah, but I can tell you, like, regardless, even though the stage has gotten a little bit bigger, man, every time I go to the finals, I still get like sweaty palms, and I'm like, thank God I don't have to be on stage. And I don't mind being on stage, but it's more like the nervousness of winning or not winning is just like, you feel it in the air. It's definitely
but I love that. I love being scared. I love being scared about that. And honestly, I didn't get to watch your pitch, Gene, but I watched Cam, and Cam didn't seem to be sweating at all. I just want to point that out.
So we're wearing sweatsuits, dude. I mean,
that's a good transition point. So Cam, just walk us through what that moment was like for you. What was going through your heads prior to entering the stage, and then once you kind of pitched it, what was that feeling?
So honestly, I want to tell you that I was nervous or sweating, or I remember it. I kind of just blacked it out and then came off a stage and started talking with the Bonhai guys who were in it with us. I remember going up, right? It was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking in the sense that I don't like to necessarily lose too much. But I think that it was easy in the sense that this is something that we're doing. We have active customers that see value from this. And I think that that's important for every competitor and every finalist to believe in their product enough to not be nervous about getting up there and pitching it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you value your company greatly. Too bad Bonhai didn't. So.
Dang, guys, I was coaching them. Relax, okay? I'm still supporting the founding team over there. Okay?
That was the big acquisition that year. So it was good news.
Wow. Yeah, good thing Jameson scaled the win.
What about you, Gene? Did you? I'm trying to think of prior years. Did you? There were 3 finalists, and was it still the same structure where you had to get up on stage and?
Yeah, the previous year. So you're talking about my experience of the year before?
Yeah,
my experience. Yeah, they had a formal kind of like room reserved for that instead of just being like, off of a little stage somewhere in the vendor or in the main hall, of like kind of like outside of the main stage area, I think is where they had it before. But this was like a larger breakout room that was set up specifically for the PitchIT concept. It's kind of like how it is today, but it was just a little bit smaller of a room.
Yeah.
3 judges from the community. They put some rigidity around 5 minutes or else you're disqualified kind of vibe. And then 5 minutes of Q&A and that's it,
Yeah.
Then judge deliberation.
Yeah. It was actually Jameson, wasn't he? Was he one of the judges?
Yeah, I think Jameson, Amy was one, and I forget the last one. Was it you, Adam?
No, I have always been the timer. I might look like a judge,
okay.
But I just press the button on the timer machine.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think what was nice about some of the simple changes that's happened, right, is that like it gets mentioned on the main stage, right? It's like, oh, we're having this conference about the future, and it's like, oh, look at all these startups doing cool stuff. Now it's like, hey, PitchIT was great, come watch it. Like here are the people who won, go check it out. And I think it's been a lot. That's like, if I was thinking about signing up again, whatever, right? That's like one of the, I think, nice free things is like all the marketing that you get and awareness for your brand and product just by like having a deeper integration to ConnectWise and the event itself.
Yeah, nice. So I'm just this whole every year we go through this. It's co-opetition. It's really weird where they're all competing and there's the same product, but they become buddies. And I'm just from a standpoint for you guys, I'm trying to think of how Traceless and AlertOps kind of can work together and how they maybe complement each other.
They already have. They already do. They do. Yeah. They do a bunch of stuff together. So let me help you out.
Just prodding it to have conversations, Sean.
Sorry.
Yeah. So okay. So fine, Adam. Reasonable. One of the things that's been nice is, honestly, is just meeting your peers, right? And when you're kind of in the throes together, as like a small startup, you realize that there is a lot of larger companies who have resource, and there's a lot of smaller companies trying to make it happen, right? Yep. And so Cam and I have talked a ton. We have a podcast that we actually talk about up and coming tools or shifts in the ecosystem. But we do talk about like, oh, what are you doing to drive sales? And what's interesting about AlertOps and Traceless is we both have broad adoption in mid-market and enterprise, right? So we both started in the MSP space, continue to exist and thrive in that space, but also sell to mid-market and enterprise. So that's just been another area that we've worked on. We've also worked on, trying to stay up late, having cigars and drinks.
That's always a good. That's always a good night, for sure.
Adam's great with cigars.
People in. Oh, I got the biggest cigar ever. So, moving on. So I'm just curious, Cam, maybe for you, maybe MSP owners watching this who feel maybe they're buried in alerts, the tickets, and security risk. What's one practical first step they can take this week to actually kind of get ahead of that? Demo your stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I'm a product guy, but unfortunately, that's not my answer. My answer is look at your processes. Very rarely can you throw a tool at a problem and hope everything is resolved, right? Look at your process, look at your people, and identify where there are gaps. Because ultimately, whether you implement something new or not, 9 out of 10 times things are a people and process problem, right? And unless you know where those gaps are, you're not going to be able to fix it with the tool.
Yeah. Nice. Gene, what about you?
Advice?
Yeah, just advice for the MSP owner. That's like one practical first step they can take when facing a lot of tickets and alerts and a lot of security risk, because it just seems like every day there's more and more stuff, especially with this AI stuff coming in.
Well,
yeah, I think there's a lot of free frameworks that you can measure yourself against, right? Like GTIA has one, I think they like the Trustmark, right?
Trustmark.
And I think that just starting and saying, hey, I'm going to take one Friday a month and try to work through some of these frameworks. What happens is it can feel daunting and it can feel like, oh, I don't want to know where I'm not good. And we even have this at Traceless where we go through diligence with a large company and their requirements actually help us become a better company, right? It's not like they're out to get us. They're just like, you just have to be a little bit better potentially, right? But we want to make sure that you're going to be responsible for our relationship. Yeah. And so I think one of the hardest parts about the broad array of tooling and things that MSPs owners have to do is knowing what is the most impactful thing that you need to do and what are things you could do that are in your reach, right? And for an MSP owner, it'd be like going to a business and be like, hey, I'm going to turn on MFA on Office 365, right? It's gonna cut down a lot of risk. And I think by doing some framework alignment, you'll find potentially where you might be lacking in the security. And you might also say, I hear that that's important, but we don't have that problem because of X, Y, and Z. But at least you understand, right?
So you say at least you understand, right? Which is a very assumptive thing to say. I don't understand what the value of it is, right? Speaking in generalities, right? One thing I think we've discovered over the last 18 years of cybersecurity is there's a lot of vagueness to buzzwords and what should be done and how to do things. And the thing is, at the end of the day, you have to be able to explain to me why I should be talking to you, what the value you provide is. So you just gave me all this stuff about frameworks and once a month and everything else. But if you can't boil that down to a basic conversation, I don't understand what the value is. So how do you do that, right? And honestly, that's part of what you guys did to win PitchIT too, is boil down what you do to make it. It has to be layman's terms, right? So so how do you in doing that, how do you prepare for that stuff? How do you prepare to say exactly what you said to me in English, not in techese? Because, right? I mean, you're talking to us. We're in the industry. But if you're what does that mean to an MSP talking to a dentist that could give a shit less what you just said about anything, because he has no clue. Like, my dentist still has a fax machine right in the lobby. So you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that comes down to a risk discussion, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just go fear of death and uncertainty, right? But I think that's like one sales methodology.
Sure.
The other is alignment and discussion around risk acceptance, you know?
Right, but how do you say it to me though, right? No matter what, still at the end of the day, you still have to be able to translate to me, right? I feel
like we're in that movie Rush Hour, and I'm like Chris Rock, and I'm like saying, English, do you speak it? Adam, am I wrong here? Like, what's going on with Sean today?
No, you're
you guys are queuing this stuff up perfectly.
You know what? I'm leaving. I'm taking my
runs
ball.
In the family. Gosh.
Yeah.
You are speaking English. What I'm saying is the struggle that we have is vendors know what you're talking about to MSPs, but they don't know how to translate from MSP to end user for anything we do. Right. This is why MSPs struggle. We've been talking about what they do as a living. Right. Their pitch sucks. It's legit. That's why there's so many sales coaching companies that exist now for MSPs, right? You know that, Gene. You've hired them.
Yep.
So yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think it's always interesting. It's like that's a rabbit hole down this side of the industry, but I feel like it takes a lot to really appreciate the skill and experience required to be a good salesperson, right? And I think a lot of MSP owners, we all grow from referrals and feel that we're good salespeople. And then, you know, the challenge is, okay, go get 5 customers who don't know anything about you today, right? And it seems like an impossible task, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough to really connect those dots.
Absolutely. And so that's the question then. Okay, so, and Cam, back to you even on this, you both had to refine your pitches for the competition itself. You know, one of the hardest things you see in the industry is vendors being able to an elevator pitch, even when you're working a booth, right? Because when somebody walks up to you, you only got like 30 seconds, right? So, and your signs, and you and I, actually, Cam and I went through this, what was going to be on the banners. Remember that conversation? That took like a month, right? To really to determine this is what it should say, simplified. So how did you go about doing this when you were speaking to it? How do you practice and move from saying a bunch of things that make sense in general, but refine it to a pitch that makes sense to everybody?
So just to start off, I still resonate with the word ingest and synergy. All right. So
I'm glad we've moved on to Infinity Edge.
Beyond that, though, right? Like, I think that it was a lot of, are you suffering from fatigue? Is there a byproduct of unnecessary noise? Blah, 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 right? But at the core, it came down to, hey, you can't hire good techs and you can't keep good techs because they're burnt out. And on top of that, having something like this allows your techs to do less and respond faster. So from a value prop perspective for an MSP, we position ourselves over the competition because we get to your stuff faster. We have less SLAs breached. So from an operational and financial perspective, keep your workers and do more with them, as well as do better than the company because they don't have something like this. Was simple enough that it resonated.
Yeah. So it's been a couple of years since you guys won. Tell me where things are at since winning. You know, what was it like that first year, and then kind of take us to where you're currently today. Let's go, Gene. Let's start off with you.
Yeah, so I think what's been interesting about owning a software company is it's a different kind of grind than an MSP, and so there's definitely a learning curve. And I think when you win an award, it's great. But that just basically opens the door for you to continue to grind, right? So I think any founder out there would probably say the same thing, that it's challenging work, but very rewarding. And from our perspective, we've continued to support the channel the best way we can. We're also now in PAX 8, so we're working with them to help secure MSPs across their ecosystems and to work with the MSPs to resell Traceless into their customers. So developing a sell-through program. And we're also seeing, like I said earlier, like great interest in mid-market and highly regulated spaces, which has been, again, harder. It's like, it sounds great, right? But it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of work. So that's been my experience.
Nice. That's good. So it is two very different type grinds, right? Because you have your R&D, you have your development, you have sales and marketing on top of that. It's definitely way different than MSP.
Would you say, Gene, since you lived through both, some things that I've noticed is that as an MSP, you're a local business.
Sure.
Right. And I mean, you can always expand and go into other areas, but originally you're a local business selling to locals, right? Being a vendor, you have to be on the national stage at the very least, if not the global. Did you find any struggles between the two and understand the difference with it, or how to approach it?
So I think that one of the challenging things, I think this is just an interesting comment on the SaaS apocalypse, right? Which is like everyone's going to vibe code all the software companies out of existence. And it's like, even when you have a product that works really well and you've got many customers who love your product, it's still hard to reach, the 400 million small businesses in the world, right? So thinking about that beyond a local stage is definitely challenging, even though we have customers all over the world. I do think people still buy from people, right? So having a good customer base that are happy to refer your business to others. And I think starting a software company is similar to starting an MSP. Is like you're solving a problem for somebody, and that problem gets solved by the exchange of money, right? So whether it's just by hour or by user, it's still like you're exchanging value for cost. So I think that is a similarity between a service business and a software company, right? And I think, everyone wants to have 10,000 customers, right? There's certainly like a scale and the virality of certain SaaS companies that they reach, but at the end of the day, you're still selling to people, right? So I think that's another very important part of this that's very similar to selling MSP services. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, no, I mean,
thanks, Gene, for teeing him up for that. Thanks, Gene.
I was gonna say, Cam, are you blinking or are you?
I mean, so I didn't come from an MSP, right? But I've worked with a lot, and I think that, like you're saying, at the end of the day, it's about the value that you provide, and on top of the value that you provide, being able to articulate that in a way that makes sense to the problems that they have today. And I think that whether you're an MSP or you're a software vendor, it comes down to being able to address why they're burning today, or something that they can't get to, and how do you prevent that, or how do you mitigate risk of that happening. So I think that articulating the value and finding that customer base, no matter what business you're in, is going to be difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll agree.
It makes it a little more difficult when your checks aren't as big as they are today. So Sean, you want to talk a little bit about prize money?
I'd love to, Adam. It's great. So because the program has done so well, because of tireless efforts of Gene and Cam and other winners of the past, we increased the prizes, but not money necessarily. Oh, right, Gene's face. I love Gene's face already. So, the last umpteen years we've done where first place wins 70 grand, second place wins 30 grand, and obviously all three finalists will receive the credit for the sponsorship for the following year. So that was always involved in that. So depending on what the current rate would be that amount, right? Where now this year, for the first time, all three will win more, actually. And it's a combination of both cash and like an IT Nation sponsorship credit, right? So moving this year for the first time, third place they'll get they're going right now for the startup booth, startup kiosk, and being part of PitchIT is $15K. And so they'll get that plus an additional $20K in IT Nation sponsorship credits for third place that they can use next year to sponsor. Second place will get $20,000 in cash, and then also after the $15K credit, another $20,000 in IT Nation sponsorship credit. So total is $55K for that, right? And first place will get $30,000 in cash and $75,000, so $50,000 plus the 15 and IT Nation sponsorship credit. So you're looking at $105,000 in total winnings for first place. So yeah, so it's gone well. Man, look at Cam's face. He's like, "What the?" But anyway, yeah, he had crazy eyes just now. But yeah, it's done so well. Yeah, this is the new prize money. We did this last week too to the other winners, and they didn't like the conversation at all. They're like, "Where was all that when we won?"
Less taxes.
So yeah, so thoughts on that, Gene? What do you think about that?
I mean, it's hard. It's like when you give somebody money and then they ask for more. It's hard to please everyone. So I think it's like I think that
Gene, I feel like it's like you're surprised to get money you didn't think you were going to get, like $10,000, and then you realize you should ask for more of the money you didn't know you were going to get. So you should always counteroffer that gift for a bigger gift.
100%. So I mean, I'm not sure that at the end of the main stage, when there's a photo op, they're going to get on the mic and say, "Well, actually, I'm happy to accept this if it was 10% higher." But all jokes aside, I think if the advice of where to use that sponsorship money within the ecosystem is thoughtful, I think that could go a long way. I mean, like,
agreed.
I think we misspent some of our prize money in event sponsorship across the community to just see, like, well, what's this? And then you realize, like, anyone selling sponsorships trying to meet their quota, right? They can't guarantee anything. They can't promise you, even though that's not the sales pitch, right?
Right. Of course, go to the end of the day, nobody's going to say, "Oh no, I won't take your money, Gene."
Correct.
No, don't buy this. You insisted, but don't. I can't. I insist you don't.
Exactly. So I think that if there's some advice and some thoughtful, like, here's where you might fit, because obviously, like, from an ecosystem perspective, the more successful the sponsorships are for a vendor, the more likely they're to grow and scale with the community.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's something that I feel like is different.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a great segue to Cam, because Cam's experience was different after he won, because we did go through exactly that conversation, did we not?
100%, right? And I think that was huge. And I think that everyone that goes through it, if their experience is anything like ours, no matter what, you're going to expect to throw shit at the wall to some degree and hope it'll stick, because you're still learning, right? But I think that having guidance, right, from you, Sean, and a lot of other people that have been through it and existed in the ecosystem for a lot of time, a good chunk of time, right, helped us be a little less experimental with the way that we deployed funds.
Yep, agreed. How do you feel about that prize money now, though, Cam? The increase. How do you feel about that?
Can I enter again?
We should have a whole
champion of champions.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go watch Survivor and see how it plays out.
I'm almost down with that a bit.
I guess some good competition. So we'll go ahead and wrap with this. So this last question is for both of you guys. If you could say one thing right now to the MSP owners watching this, or managers, or even other vendors watching this, what does it really take to win this space? Like, what is the big thing in this space?
I think from my end, right, obviously, like, compliance checklists, security questionnaires, irrespective of what market you're selling into. One thing that I've found with the MSP ecosystem, irrespective or probably even more so than other industries, is trust, right? You're not running a 4,000 man shop, and being able to have a real conversation with real people and building that relationship and trust matters a lot more than anything else. And that's been kind of my experience.
Awesome. Gene, what about you?
Yeah, I think trust and reputation is super important. What happens is the MSP community is like very vocal, right? When they're vocal. And I think like a lot of online forums, Reddit is a very important one for people to exchange and help each other. And also some people air their laundry out there. So I think it is, again, like what I said before, like, how do you get 100 customers? It's like one customer at a time, right? And you got to keep your commitment as you go. And I think that's also, like, as an MSP owner of 21 years now, I always say probably the one thing, if I were to do it again, I wish would be different, is not holding vendors accountable, right? Because like you're either like, oh, customer buys software and you're the IT person and you're like, hey guys, do your job, or this doesn't work, fix your shit, right? Or you're an MSP vendor. I mean, I remember even like ConnectWise, when we bought into it as an MSP, it was like, we'll be cloud in a quarter. And it was like 4 years later, right? They got there, right? But that was a tough transition for me as a partner, right? And so it's incredibly difficult to build software that is resilient and works all the time. And I think that that's probably one of the more important facets of this as well.
Awesome.
I like that. Let me say something. I like you're not wrong. The one at a time, you have no choice. And also you make sure you fulfill the customer, but also make sure you're very refined in what you're supposed to support them on. Because you find a lot of owners try to do everything to appease a customer, and they're building more stuff on top of their software. They're doing things they shouldn't be doing. They lose the focus, and then they become very watered down in their offering. So they're no longer solving the problem that they were hired for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're now in a janitor closet because they've been shunned, and they're supposed to bring their mop out when they're done with this call and go mop a floor.
Just in a basement somewhere.
Exactly. Looking for the breaker box. You go fix that next.
This is gold, guys. Gene and Cam, I really, you just proved what we've seen every week when coming and talking to PitchIT winners. And it's really, growth does not come from hoping and chasing more tools and so forth. It comes from really getting clear, getting coached, and executing with real discipline. You guys did that through this program. You guys won and took home the prize. And if you're an MSP owner or you're a vendor out there, tired of that chaos, tired of eating your margin or eating low margins and, really burning that cash, burning out your team, take their advice and start moving, start taking action, start building trust, start building relationships in the space. I just want to say a huge thanks to Gene and Cam. Go check out AlertOps and Traceless. We'll be sure and post the comments. And Sean, I appreciate you being an awesome co-host on here. Drop a comment if this hit home. Reach out to us and talk more about operations, scaling, growing. We also have a Facebook group, Central Mafia Facebook group. And also check out our page, centralmafiausergroup.com. Sean, anything else?
Nope, I'm done. You said everything you need to say.
Appreciate it, guys. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Until next week. Peace out.
Sam